Hey everybody, Doug8798 here. This is my worst movies of 2014's list, and the very first film I gotta start off with is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. This film, of course, since the first Spider-Man sucked, I initially wasn't really gonna see this film until they announced that Electro and Rhino would be appearing in this film, and I saw the leaked shots of Electro and Rhino. Then I later saw the leaked shots of Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin. Then the trailer released, and the trailer was absolutely terrible. From the terrible talking scenes with Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker and Dave DeHaan's Harry Osborn, when Harry Osborn was telling Peter he was under surveillance, which that scene wasn't even in the movie. Um, um, to the atrocious, and this right here pissed me off and made me hate the Amazing Spider-Man 2 automatically, and that was when I saw the giant rhino suit. The giant rhino suit. When I heard they were including the rhino, I expected the rhino as he originally looked, a big man in a rhino suit, not some idiotic guy, not Paul Giamatti in a giant mecha suit with a crappy ass um Russian accent, man. When I saw him transform to the Rhinosaur, that's when I really knew to hate this movie and bash the living hell out of this movie. And then I see the movie. Other movies I watch, I usually go into thinking suck and come out somewhat being good. This film did exceed no expectations, and I went into it with the lowest expectations possible. I said it was gonna suck, and it did suck. The story sucked. There was barely any action. There were only about maybe two, three, four good scenes, good scenes, and product replacement, and what I find even more offensive, false advertising. Once again, calling yourself amazing but using stuff from Ultimates. Then even more false advertising showing that badass scene at the end where Spider-Man throws the lid at the giant rhino suit, which you think was going to be a big part of the movie, but it wasn't. It was just a trick to get you into the theaters, showing all the action sequences in the trailers, which means you saw the action sequences in the trailers. Having a At the post credits, having an ad for X-Men Days of Future Past, and even using fan baity stuff like Octopus's wings and Octopus's tentacle arms and Vulture's wings to get fanboys in the theaters because they had no faith in their source material or their script. Terrible film. One of the worst comic book films and worst films of all time. But this film failed. That's why it's first on this list. This film failed. This film was a box office disappointment, and Spider-Man now will be rebooted with a new film. Spider-Man now will be appearing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and will be rebooted with a new film in 2017. Thank God. But you know what was worse than this? See, it made as bad as Amazing Spider-Man, as bad as the Amazing Spider-Man movies were, and Spider-Man 2 was. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't make its money. What's worse than this is X-Men Days of Future Past. This film right here was garbage, and I had high expectations for this film. Of course, after seeing First Class, I was never going to watch another X-Men film because First Class I thought sucked. And the Wolverine, the follow-up to First Class, that sucks too. That sucks so bad, it's not even memorable. Um, but this film, they advertised this as a sequel to X-Men 3. As a sequel to X-Men 3. Of course, this film was based on the X-Men Days of Future Past storyline. Not only does it not follow the storyline, of having Kitty go back into time and prevent the Sentinels from attacking, they have Wolverine doing it, and this film utilizes the cast from X-Men First Class teaming up with X-Men Days of Future Past. How does X-Men First Class and X-Men The Last Stand lead up into X-Men Days of Future Past, which is the first part I thought was stupid. Then the false advertising. This was advertised as a sequel to X-Men 3 The Last Stand. Instead, they secretly rebooted so they can compete with the Marvel Cinematic Universe instead of A, taking criticism and making X-Men 4 better, or better yet, giving the rights back to Marvel. Giving the rights back to Marvel because these X-Men films, the first three in Origins, in my opinion, were pretty good, but everything after that was terrible. No, they instead do this crappy reboot to compete with Marvel, to compete with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As a film at best, it's okay, and I don't do okay in the 2010s. As same with the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, it's probably not as bad as it's probably okay, but we should not settle for okay. The first part of this film started off good. There was some good action sequences in the beginning. That's what I wanted to see was the X-Men fighting the Sentinels, and there was the big climax at the end, which showed all the mutants getting killed, which I hated. Characters like Bishop being wasted, but that's what I want to see. The X-Men, the mutants fighting the Sentinels. The first and end were good. The whole middle part with Wolverine going back in time was terrible. All of it was just garbage. Plot holes, wasting characters, atrocious costume design, and just a garbage film. And then the sequel to this made me hate the X-Men movies even more. I will not be watching any X-Men movies unless Deadpool or Colossus, underrated mutant Colossus, have a main role. Um, the sequel to this film is supposed to be about Apocalypse, and by the time Apocalypse was there, all the X-Men were here. It's gonna have a young Cyclops and Jean Grey, and it's gonna feature the cast from First Class. So not even the good cast from the original X-Men trilogy. We got to deal with the crappy cast from First Class. Like I said, man, just a terrible film. And this film was one of the top grossing films of this year, and is widely considered the best film of this year, despite its plot holes. And I can also forgot, not only did they ruin the comic books, they ruined their own continuity. There were several different plot holes. So many plot holes, this film gives me a headache just thinking about it. Just thinking about it. A headache just thinking about it. Just thinking about it. Um, well, that's X-Men Days of Future Past. But you know what? You want to know what's worse than X-Men Days of Future Past and the Amazing Spider-Man 2? Behold, Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. This right here was terrible. Nothing about this was really good. I guess other than the animation, nothing was good. Nothing was really good. Mediocre action sequences, including one terrible action sequences where Bills takes out Piccolo and Tien with chopsticks, Spanks Go Tanks, and easily defeats him. Um, 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 Gohan and Boo get taken out with one hit, but Vegeta is able to fight with Bills for a while after becoming enraged. Terrible comedy sequences involving Emperor Pilaf and Mai. Who wants to see them? Garbage story that looks like it was pulled out of nowhere. Plot holes like King Kai's planet being restored. Um, um, to just garbage. Oh yes, and finally unoriginal. Just unoriginal. This is a crappy rip off of Marvel's Champion of the Universe, where a being known as the Champion of the Universe comes to Earth looking for the strongest fighters in the world, and he fights the strongest fighters in the world. But the Marvel characters, the Thing doesn't lose, but the Marvel character Thing loses, but his bravery and spirit convinces the champion to spare Earth. Bills does the same with Goku in the group. Does the same with Goku in the group. And it's not even nowhere as good as that. So if you want to talk about all ideas coming from somewhere, not only is it ripping off something else, it's not even good. But finally, even more important than that, this film resembles nothing cool, nothing epic, nothing badass, and it was just created to counter Deep Dragon Ball evolution. And this film right here was terrible. And then what's worse is that not only did this film top Japanese box office, but here they had the nerve and the audacity to parade this crap here in to pollute theaters with this crap, select theaters with this crap here in America. which looks like a TV episode of Dragon Ball, which is like a film, which is written like a filler television episode of Dragon Ball, a bad fan fiction, is what this looks like. What this looks like I said, nothing cool, nothing epic. One of the worst films of all time. Good thing the sequel looks to be 1,000 times better, but this right here is one of the worst comic book films of all time, man. And this, like I said, this video right here was an introduction to new rants on Battle of Gods, Days of Future Past, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. These films suck and should not have made anything. I hate all of 3 of these films. Alright, Dog 8798 out.